Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to explore the incredible and diverse world of Kingdom Plantae. That's right, the plants. You see them everywhere, from tiny mosses to giant trees. But what exactly makes something a plant? Well, plants are fascinating multicellular organisms. Their cells are eukaryotic, meaning they have a nucleus and they possess two key features: chloroplasts for photosynthesis, making their own food using sunlight, and rigid cell walls for support. Plants can reproduce sexually using gametes like pollen and egg cells, and also asexually, which we often call vegetative reproduction. A really unique thing about plants is their life cycle, called alternation of generations. This means they alternate between two forms: a diploid stage called the sporophyte with two sets of chromosomes, and a haploid stage called the gametophyte with one set of chromosomes. We'll touch on this again later. Now, when we look at the vast variety of plants, we can classify them based on three important structures: whether they have a vascular system for transport, whether they produce seeds, and whether they have flowers. Let's quickly look at the main parts of a typical plant. The roots anchor the plant and absorb water and minerals from the soil. The stem provides support and transports materials between the roots and leaves. It has nodes where leaves attach, and internodes, the spaces between nodes. The leaves are the primary sites for photosynthesis, where the plant makes its food. And often the flower is the reproductive part, producing the pollen and egg cells needed for sexual reproduction. Remember I mentioned the vascular system? This is like the plant's plumbing. It's made of specialized tissues that transport substances throughout the plant. There are two main types: xylem. Think of xylem as the water pipes. It transports water and dissolved minerals up from the roots to the rest of the plant. Xylem tissue is primarily made of non-living cells like vessel members and tracheids, which are adapted for efficient water flow. Phloem is responsible for transporting food, mainly sugars produced during photosynthesis, from the leaves to other parts of the plant where it's needed, like the roots or fruits. Phloem consists of living cells, including sieve tubes and companion cells. Plants that have xylem and phloem are called vascular plants. Think of trees, ferns, and flowering plants. Plants that lack these tissues, like mosses, are called non-vascular plants. Their lack of plumbing limits their size and usually keeps them in moist environments. And while we're down near the ground, let's talk roots again. There are two main system types. A taproot system has one large main root that grows straight down with smaller roots branching off. Think of a carrot. A fibrous root system consists of many thin branching roots spreading out near the surface. Grasses have fibrous roots. Okay, back to that fascinating life cycle. Alternation of generations. All plants do this. The sporophyte, which is diploid, produces haploid spores through meiosis. These spores grow into the gametophyte, which is haploid. The gametophyte then produces haploid gametes, sperm and eggs, through mitosis. When a sperm fertilizes an egg, they form a diploid zygote, which grows into a new sporophyte, and the cycle continues. Here's a key difference. In non-vascular plants like mosses, the green leafy part you usually see is the gametophyte. It's the dominant stage. In almost all other plants, ferns, conifers, flowering plants, the larger, more visible plant is the sporophyte, and the gametophyte is much smaller and often hidden. Now, let's classify plants based on these features. Group 1, non-vascular plants, also known as bryophytes. These are the simplest land plants. They lack true roots, stems, leaves, and vascular tissue. They need moist environments because their sperm cells need water to swim to the egg. The gametophyte is the dominant generation. Examples include mosses, liverworts, and hornworts. Mosses, especially peat moss, are ecologically important in bogs and have uses in gardening and even historically as dressing material due to their absorbency and antiseptic properties. Group 2, vascular plants, also known as tracheophytes. These plants do have xylem and phloem, This allows them to grow much larger and live in drier conditions than bryophytes. The sporophyte is the dominant generation here. We can divide these further seedless vascular plants. These have vascular tissue but reproduce using spores, not seeds. Think of ferns, club mosses, also known as lycophytes, and horsetails. Ferns are the most familiar. They have true roots, stems, often underground rhizomes, and leaves called fronds. Spores are typically found in clusters on the underside of the fronds. Ferns were crucial in forming ancient coal deposits and are popular decorative plants today. Horsetails are interesting with their jointed hollow stems containing silica, which historically made them useful for scrubbing. Seed plants. This is the group most familiar to us. They have vascular tissue and they reproduce using seeds. Seeds are a major evolutionary advantage. A seed contains the plant embryo, a food supply, endosperm in many, and a protective coat. This allows the embryo to survive harsh conditions and disperse to new locations. Gymnosperms, or non-flowering seed plants. Their name means naked seed because their seeds are not enclosed within a fruit. They typically develop on the surface of scales or leaves, often arranged in cones. The most common group is the conifers. Think pines, firs, cedars. They are mostly evergreen trees or shrubs with needle-like or scale-like leaves, often adapted to cold or dry conditions. Conifer wood is economically vital. Other groups include cycads, which are palm-like plants often found in tropical regions, ginkgo, with only one living species, Ginkgo biloba, known for its unique fan-shaped leaves, and netophytes, a diverse group that includes shrubs and vines. Angiosperms, also known as flowering seed plants, are the flowering plants. This is the largest and most diverse group of plants on Earth. Their key features are flowers, which are the reproductive structures, and fruits, which develop from the flower's ovary and enclose the seeds. Fruits protect the seeds and aid in their dispersal. Angiosperms undergo double fertilization. One sperm fertilizes the egg to form the zygote or embryo, and another sperm fuses with other cells in the ovule to form the endosperm, which is the nutritious tissue for the embryo within the seed. We divide angiosperms into two main classes based on the number of seed leaves, or cotyledons, in the embryo. Dicots, or dicotyledons, have two cotyledons. Their leaves usually have net-like veins. Vascular bundles in the stem are often arranged in a ring. They typically have a taproot system. Flower parts are usually in multiples of 4 or 5. Examples include roses, sunflowers, beans, oaks, and tomatoes. We can look at families like Fabaceae, which includes legumes like beans and peas known for their nitrogen-fixing root nodules. Then there's Rosaceae, which includes roses, apples, and pears. Solanaceae, which includes potatoes, tomatoes, and peppers. And finally, Asteraceae, which includes sunflowers and daisies, the largest family. Monocots, or monocotyledons, have only one cotyledon. Their leaves typically have parallel veins. Vascular bundles in the stem are usually scattered. They usually have a fibrous root system. Flower parts are usually in multiples of 3. Examples include grasses, lilies, orchids, palms, and onions. We briefly mentioned flowers and pollination. Pollination is simply the transfer of pollen containing the male gametes from the anther to the part of the flower containing the ovules, with the female gamete, the egg. This transfer can be done by wind, water, animals like insects, birds, bats, or even people. Fertilization happens after pollination, leading to the development of the seed and, in angiosperms, the fruit. Finally, besides sexual reproduction via seeds or spores, many plants can reproduce asexually through vegetative reproduction. This involves using non-reproductive parts like stems, roots, or leaves to grow a new genetically identical plant. Think of runners like on strawberry plants, bulbs like onions and tulips, corms like gladiolus, rhizomes like iris and ferns, and tubers like potatoes. These are often modified stems or roots. Humans use vegetative propagation methods like taking cuttings, grafting. which is joining parts of different plants and tissue culture, growing plants from small tissue pieces in a lab to propagate desirable plants. So, as you can see, Kingdom Plantae is incredibly diverse, ranging from simple mosses to complex flowering trees. Understanding their parts, how they transport materials, their unique life cycles, and how we classify them based on features like vascular tissue, seeds, and flowers helps us appreciate the vital role they play in our ecosystems and our lives. That's all for today's journey into the world of plants. Keep observing the green world around you.